You close your eyes and feel a tightness in your chest when you hear the doorbell ring without warning. Your heart races, not with joy, but with an anxiety you've never been able to explain to anyone. While the people around you talk about how wonderful it is to receive unexpected visitors, you feel as if they're speaking of a parallel world you've never been able to inhabit. Is there something deeply wrong with you for preferring the solitude of your own space to the spontaneous company of others? Or is there an ancient wisdom pulsing in your Taurus blood that the rest of the world has yet to grasp? For years, you carried the silent guilt of being antisocial, weird, difficult. You heard people tell you that you should be more open, more receptive, more available. You forced smiles when someone showed up at your door, feigned joy when in reality you felt your energy being sucked down an invisible drain. You lied about being busy to avoid encounters that others considered natural and pleasurable. And you asked yourself in moments of brutal loneliness, why am I like this? Why can't I be like everyone else? Today you will discover that there is nothing wrong with you. Today, you will understand that your aversion to visitors is not a flaw to be corrected, but a deep characteristic of your Taurian nature that carries wisdom far beyond what your conscious mind can grasp. Every resistance you feel, every discomfort you experience, every need to control your environment is a manifestation of an emotional and energetic protection system so sophisticated that most people cannot even comprehend it. In the revelations that follow, you won't just understand why you act the way you do. You'll reconnect with lost parts of yourself. You'll validate feelings that have been invalidated for years. You'll discover that your way of relating to the world isn't a limitation, but a superpower disguised as a quirk. And most importantly, you'll stop apologizing for being exactly who you are. The first truth, so painful it's so true. Your home isn't just a place where you live. It's an energetic sanctuary you build brick by brick, furniture by furniture, energy by energy. Every object you choose carries a part of your soul. Every corner you organize reflects a piece of your psyche. When someone enters your space unannounced, they're not just visiting a house. They're invading a sacred temple you spent years consecrating. You know deep down that there's a world of difference between being alone and being lonely. Being alone in your sanctuary recharges your energetic batteries, connects with parts of yourself that only emerge in silence, and honors internal rhythms that the outside world constantly tries to accelerate or modify. But when someone bursts into this space without permission, you feel as if they're pulling you out of a deep, meditative state and forcing you into a social performance you weren't prepared for. Other people may not understand, but you know that your home is where you process the day's experiences, where you emotionally digest everything you've experienced outside, where you reconnect with your most authentic essence. It's your self-healing laboratory, your workshop for personal renewal, your refuge from a world that often demands more energy than you have to give. When someone interrupts this process, you feel as if they're interrupting an emotional surgery in progress. And here's the part that might make you cry with relief. You don't need to apologize for this. You don't need to force a hospitality that goes against your deepest nature. Your home is your sacred right to exist without masks, without performances, without the need to be palatable for others' social consumption. How many times have you felt guilty for wanting your space to remain pristine, preserved, protected from the chaotic energy that other people carry without even realizing it? The second truth that will free you from years of guilt: your energy is not an infinite resource that you should distribute liberally to anyone who comes into your life. You operate at different frequencies than most people. While others may be energized by constant social interactions, you are energized through depth, quality over quantity, and taking time to absorb and process experiences. When you say no to a visitor, you're not being rude or selfish. You're being energetically intelligent. You're recognizing that you have natural boundaries that, when respected, allow you to be the best version of yourself. But when ignored, they turn you into a depleted, irritable and disconnected version of yourself. Have you ever noticed how you feel after a full day of entertaining? As if they've drained not just your physical energy, but something much deeper, your emotional vitality, your ability to experience pleasure in the little things, your connection to your own center. It's like a battery that needs specific time to recharge, but is constantly forced to operate at a low charge. The truth is, you feel other people's emotions with an intensity that borders on the physical. When someone enters your space carrying anxiety, sadness, anger, or any other dense energy, you absorb those vibrations like an emotional sponge. And then it takes hours, sometimes days, to cleanse your energy field and return to its natural state of balance. That's why you instinctively avoid unplanned visits, not because you dislike people, but because you know you need to prepare yourself emotionally to receive other people's energies. You need to be in a strong enough internal state to maintain your own frequency while navigating the frequencies others bring with them. This isn't being antisocial, it's being energetically intelligent. The third truth that will make you question everything you've been told about hospitality: you need control over your environment because your emotional well-being is directly connected to the harmony of your physical space. It's not a whim, it's not a pathological control freak, it's a genuine need of your energetic makeup. Your home is an extension of your inner state. When everything is in order, you feel internally organized. When there's clutter or chaos, you feel an inner turmoil that can last for days. Therefore, the idea of someone arriving unexpectedly and potentially disrupting your environment, physically or energetically, causes you discomfort that goes far beyond social inconvenience. You need to know that you can control the flow of energy into and out of your space. You need the security of being able to choose when to open your doors and when to keep them closed, not out of malice or rejection of others, but because your emotional stability depends on this ability to regulate the intensity of your interactions. Other people might interpret this as coldness, but you know it's the opposite. You can only be warm and welcoming when you feel safe and prepared. When you're forced into interactions you're not internally prepared for, you become a defensive and closed-off version of yourself, and then feel guilty for not being the perfect host people expected. The truth is, you honor the quality of human connections too much to treat them superficially. You'd rather have a few deep, meaningful interactions than many shallow, empty ones. And to have quality, you need time to prepare, to be truly present, to give your best. Fourth truth that will validate every time you pretended not to be home: there is a fundamental difference between chosen intimacy and imposed intimacy. You deeply value authentic human connections, but you can only access that authenticity when intimacy happens on your own terms, at your own pace, when you feel safe to let down your natural defenses. When someone shows up unannounced, you're forced into an instant intimacy for which you may not be emotionally available at the time. It's like being asked to dance to a song you haven't heard yet, to play a role you haven't had time to prepare for. The result is always a performance, never a genuine connection. You know you have an extraordinary capacity for deep and transformative connections. When you're in the right state, when you've chosen to open your space and your heart, you can create encounters that touch people's souls. But this only happens when you have control over the process, when you can choose the moment, prepare the environment, and be internally available to give what's most precious to you. The unexpected visit robs you of this opportunity for excellent connections. It forces you to be an edited version of yourself, a version that protects your true essence, because there wasn't time to evaluate whether it's safe to reveal it. And then you're left with the bitter taste of having missed an opportunity for real connection because you were caught off guard. That's why you develop strategies to avoid these situations. Not out of malice, but out of love for the authenticity of human relationships. You'd rather not meet someone than meet them superficially. You'd rather wait for the right moment than force the wrong one. And that's not a flaw, it's emotional wisdom. Fifth truth that will make you cry with recognition. You need emotional preparation rituals before receiving people because your way of loving is through total presence, and total presence requires internal preparation. You can't be truly present when you're caught off guard because your mind is divided between trying to process the sudden change in your reality and trying to be socially appropriate. Your rituals may seem simple to others: tidying the house, taking a bath, choosing an outfit that makes you feel good, preparing something delicious to offer. But you know that these rituals are actually sacred practices of energetic preparation. Each action is a way of tuning your internal frequency to the frequency you want to emanate during the encounter. When these rituals are interrupted or made impossible by someone's unexpected arrival, you feel like a musician forced to play a complex symphony without having had time to tune their instrument. Technically, you can play the notes, but you know the result is far below what you would have been able to achieve if you had had the time to prepare properly. Preparation isn't vanity or perfectionism. It's an act of love for both you and your host. It's your way of honoring the importance of human encounters, of ensuring you can give your best instead of offering the remnants of energy left over from a chaotic day. You know that when you're prepared, when you've chosen to open your space and your heart, you can create welcoming experiences that leave a lasting impression on people. Your home becomes an oasis of peace. Your presence becomes medicine for weary souls. Your attention becomes balm for wounded hearts. But all of this is only possible when you take the time to tune into this higher version of yourself. Sixth truth that will make you forgive all the times you said no. You protect your vulnerability like a sacred treasure because you know it is the source of your most authentic power. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is your ability to perceive nuances of reality that others cannot even detect. But this sensitivity needs to be protected, cultivated, and honored. When someone bursts into your space without warning, you feel as if they're violating not only your physical privacy, but also your emotional privacy. It's as if they've caught you in a moment of intimacy and forced you to expose yourself before you're ready. Vulnerability, which should be a conscious choice, becomes an external imposition. You've learned, perhaps through painful experiences, that not everyone knows how to handle your sensitivity respectfully. Some may interpret your depth as too much intensity. Others may try to use your emotional openness against you. Some simply can't operate on the same frequency of authenticity that you offer. That's why you've developed a sophisticated protection system that involves controlling when and how you open up to others. It's not coldness, it's emotional intelligence. You know your vulnerability is too precious to waste on people who can't properly honor it. The unexpected visit robs you of the opportunity to make this prior assessment. It forces you into an emotional exposure you may not be prepared for, with people who may not be in the right internal state to receive what you have to offer. And this leaves you feeling drained, violated, and misunderstood. Seventh truth that will revolutionize the way you see yourself. Your resistance to visits is a silent form of revolution against a world that tries to accelerate and superficialize human connections. You are an ancestral guardian of slower, deeper, more meaningful rhythms. Your need for time and space is not a personal limitation, it is a cultural resistance. We live in a society that values constant availability, immediate accessibility, and continuous social performance. But you carry in your Taurus DNA the memory of times when people visited each other purposefully, where encounters were sacred rituals of energetic exchange, where hospitality was a conscious act of opening the heart. When you resist spontaneous visits, you're resisting the culture of instantaneity that tries to turn all relationships into emotional fast food. You're defending the sacred right to live in natural rhythms, to honor the inner cycles of expansion and contraction, to consciously choose when and how you connect with others. Your home is not a public space that anyone can enter at any time. It is your personal temple, your laboratory of self-discovery, your sanctuary of regeneration. And you have the sacred right to control who enters this space and when. The social pressure to always be available is a form of subtle violence against your deepest nature. When you give in to this pressure, you betray not only yourself, but all the other Tauruses who also need this validation that it's normal, healthy, and necessary to have control over your own space and energy. Your way of relating to the world is an alternative model of living, more conscious, more intentional, and more respectful of the natural rhythms of human beings. You don't need to adapt to the world. The world needs to learn from your wisdom every time you choose to stay home. Instead of forcing social interaction for which you're not energetically available, you're performing an act of self-love that echoes throughout the universe as a declaration that it's possible to live more authentically. Every time you say no to an unexpected visitor, you're teaching those around you that healthy relationships require mutual consent and conscious preparation. You're not strange, difficult, or antisocial. You're someone who takes the quality of human connections seriously, someone who prefers depth to superficiality, someone who honors their own energy as a sacred resource that should be shared consciously, not wasted on empty performances. Your resistance to visitors is a manifestation of self-respect, not rejection of others. It's a way of protecting your ability to truly love, to be authentically present, to offer your best self when you choose to open up. From now on, every time you feel that tightness in your chest when the doorbell rings unexpectedly, remember, you're not being difficult, you're being true to your deepest nature, you're honoring ancestral rhythms that the modern world tries to erase, you're protecting your capacity to love in a holistic and transformative way. You don't need to apologize for needing time to prepare to welcome people. You don't need to feign joy when you feel invaded. You don't need to force hospitality that goes against your most basic energetic makeup. His way of loving is through quality, not quantity, through depth, not superficiality, through conscious choice, not social imposition. And this is not only valid, it's revolutionary in a world that tries to transform all relationships into fast-moving commodities. Everyone who truly knows you knows that when you choose to open your home and your heart, the experience is transformative. They know it's worth waiting for your genuine availability rather than forcing an edited version of your presence. You are a guardian of more sacred ways of relating, a protector of more human rhythms of living. A living example that it is possible to prioritize quality over quantity in all areas of life. Stop apologizing for being exactly who you are. Stop trying to fit into social molds that don't make sense to your soul. Start celebrating your ability to create deep, transformative connections when you're in the right internal state to do so. The world needs your way of loving. It needs your wisdom about healthy boundaries. It needs your example of how to live more consciously and intentionally. You are not the problem. You are part of the solution for a world that has forgotten how to relate sacredly and respectfully. Continue to protect your energy. Continue to choose quality over quantity. Continue to be an example that it is possible to love deeply without losing yourself in the process. If these truths resonated in your soul like bells of recognition, you're not alone. There are thousands of Tauruses around the world who share this same need to control their environment and energy. Share in the comments which of these truths resonated most with you and how you've dealt with social pressure to be more available. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that validates your Taurus nature and helps you live more authentically. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any revelations that can help you better understand your unique way of existing in the world. Remember, you don't need to change to fit in with the world. The world needs to learn to respect different ways of being. And you, with your Taurian wisdom about natural rhythms and deep connections, are an important teacher in this silent revolution toward more conscious ways of living and relating.